years ago, I was in London. It was an investor forum that we had gathered there to discuss investing in Africa. And, as part of that forum, we took a tour of London on one of those tour buses. And I was very privileged to sit besides one gentleman that I highly respect, the managing director of one of the leading investment firms in Africa. And he told me something very intriguing. Even though he's not an African himself, he started researching and learning about investing in emerging markets and frontier markets like Africa in 1977. And at that point in time, he told me that his children, he had two children, one was 21 years and another one was 19 years. And he said something very profound. He told me, Pius, I would want my children to come and work in Africa because Africa is the only place they can make a difference. And that really caught my attention because I've seen so many of us do the opposite. We want to leave our countries and go and work in Europe or work in the US. But this is what the Europeans are doing. This is what the Americans are doing. They are coming here because they are seeing the opportunity is in Africa. So in this video, I want to talk about why should we invest in Africa? And Africa has its issues, and Africa, we have gone through many challenges, including conflicts, corruption. There are many challenges that we contend with even today. So it's not all a bed of roses, but there are still very strong reasons why no investor can afford to not to invest in Africa. And today, what are the key selling points for Africa? And the first thing that comes to mind is that Africa hosts the fastest growing economies in the world. 15 out of 25 of the fastest growing economies in the world are found in Africa. And that is something that is massive. It's a unique attribute to Africa, and that tells you that it will be easier to grow your wealth when you place it here in Africa. The second reason that really comes to mind is population growth. It is estimated that an additional 50% of 2.37 billion additional people, additional increase in population by 2050 will come from Africa. And that really speaks volumes of many things. These people, where will they live? These people, what will they eat? These people, where will they go to school? And that tells you there's a consumer story that is cooking, that is boiling. Anybody who is selling fast moving goods, this will be the best place to place those kind of products. Africa is also experiencing the fastest change in mobile technology. 50% of all mobile phone mobile money users are located here in Africa, and a good chunk of them are also now located here in East Africa. And Kenya especially has played a significant role in mobile money evolution. And that's why today we have M-Pesa, which is a transformation in terms of how people transact and how people do business. These are things that when other people come from developed economies, they just wonder how we just sped ahead of them. Another reason why you can never ignore Africa is because of the growing labor force, whereas everybody else, the labor force is becoming aged and there are less and less people of working age. In Africa is the opposite. We have more and more people. Every day we wake up, at least 50% of the population is either going to school or is left at home. That is so powerful. And you wonder why, when schools are in session, there is always traffic. That is because at least 50% of the population in Africa are 15 years and below, school-going age or people who are at home. And this generation that is coming up is more educated than any other that we've ever had. You know, a 2-year-old today can unlock your iPhone in a split of a second. The people who are in lower primary school, they are comfortable with technology. They interact with people across the world. This young population that we're bringing up is more educated than any other than we've ever had before, and is going to compete at the global stage. And that is something that we tend to forget as much as we complain about population explosion. We began our journey of investing across Africa in 2009 when we did our own research, and we realized that the opportunity was not in Kenya, the opportunity was in the entire continent. And I personally was given a portfolio of 2.3 billion shillings to invest across the continent. I was required to invest at least 50% of that money outside of Kenya. And you know, I remember myself on my first flight to Nigeria and Ghana. And it was a scary experience. I did not know who I would meet on the ground. I did not know what I would invest in. I had so many questions in my mind. Will I be able to find the right investment? Will I be able to make the returns that I am anticipating? Will I be able to repatriate the funds back home? And today, as I sit here, I speak as an authority, as one of the few local fund managers who've explored investing in Africa and proved it to be a successful experience. I remember we put in $3 million in a bank in Ghana, and in a matter of 6 months, the thing had gone up 3 times to $9 million. I remember another opportunity that we took in Tanzania. We put $8 million, and in 28 months we were able to recoup $33 million. Crazy numbers, crazy money that we were able to make. And that story, we've repeated it here in Kenya. We've been able to prove it in Rwanda. We've been able to prove it in Egypt, in Morocco, in Tunisia, in almost every part of the continent. So Africa is ready for investment. Africa is ripe for investment. I'm not saying it is all rosy story. We've also lost money. You know, I remember at some point in Ghana, the currency really lost significantly, more than 100%. But thank God, you know, one of the things that we normally do as investment professionals is always ask ourselves, if we lost money in foreign currency of 10 to 15%, would it still make sense to put money in that country? And once we answer that question, yes, that's what gives us the unction and the confidence to go and invest beyond our borders. So investing in Africa is happening, and I have my personal appeal to all Africans to arise beyond the individual countries and to invest in the continent. Africa is ours, and we must participate as the rest of the world also participates in writing the narrative of Africa.